Are you thinking about starting a business, but you're worried that it's going to cost a fortune to get started? Well, today I'm going to talk about how I would start a new business if I just had £500 to invest. In this video, I'm going to strip back all of the talk about heavy investments that you might need to start a business and focus on what truly matters to build a successful business as quickly as possible with just a £500 starting capital investment. If you're new to the channel, my name is James Eardley and I have built and scaled e-commerce businesses to over 7 figures, and that has allowed me time and location freedom. And with these videos, I want to help you to do the same. Now, £500 is a decent sum of money. Perhaps you've got that put to one side and you know that you want to turn that money into more money. And you know that you've got an interest in having a business because you know the freedom that that can allow as an income stream compared to having a traditional 9-to-5 job. Well, I had all those thoughts a few years ago. And if I was in that position again and I just had £500 to my name, this is how I would invest it to get started in a business. And the first thought process that I'd have and would need to have is thinking about what type of business model I'd want to go into that allows you to get started and run a genuine business with just a £500 starting investment. What would also be a consideration is that you need the business model that you go into to have the possibility of scale. So it's all very well saying, I've got £500, I'm going to start a lemonade stand outside of your house and I'm going to sell to the people that walk by on the street. Well, there's no scale in that business. You can try as you might with all your marketing efforts, and it's very unlikely that you're going to get thousands of people flocking down the street to sell lemonade to. So it's crucial that you choose a business that allows you to scale, allows you the possibility of getting in front of millions of people that will be interested in your products. So there are certain businesses that allow you to do that without needing millions of pounds yourself to get started. With a £500 budget as well, it's crucial that as well as the scale, it's a business that doesn't require huge amounts of money to get started. So that rules out anything where you need to invest in stock, like with Amazon FBA. You'd need to invest in buying the stock first and then selling it afterwards. Or perhaps a retail business, a traditional retail business where like you're a franchisee of McDonald's. And to start that business as well, there's high overhead costs and high startup costs to even get started. Even just to make your first pound, you'll have already invested tens of thousands of pounds to get to that position. Instead, dropshipping, e-commerce and digital products, I believe, are some of the lowest cost startups for you to get involved with that have the possibility of scaling to a high figure. The route I went down was e-commerce, which means selling physical products online. And specifically, I used the dropshipping business model because it meant that I didn't need to invest significantly in buying the stock upfront. So why is dropshipping so cost effective? Well, dropshipping means that you don't have to buy the stock yourself. You never come into contact with the products that you're selling. Instead, you sign up with suppliers that already stock the products and you agree to become a retailer for those products. So you sell the products on your website, and when you make the sales, you ask your suppliers to deliver those products directly to your customers without you ever having to invest in the products. It means that you only ever place an order with the supplier after you've had confirmation that there is a customer that's going to pay you for that product. So it means that the money is in your favor and you only pay once you've been paid, which is crucial with a low startup investment. Also, something I mentioned earlier is the importance of scaling. And when we're selling physical products online, we have the power to sell to an entire country. We're not just thinking about the street because of our lemonade stand is on a particular street. You know, you've got the possibility of selling to anyone in the country that's in the market for those products. And specifically, we'll only go into selling into markets where there's clear demand and over 10,000 searches on Google every month for this products. And that means you only need a small slice of that industry to have a really healthy, consistent income stream. Also, when you choose to do drop shipping, you don't need to have an office. You don't need to hire staff. You can do it all yourself when you get started. You also don't have to have a warehouse to hold the stock. So the expenses there are brought down by thousands compared to if you were going to set up a traditional business model with a warehouse and investing in stock and having an office and having a team. You don't need any of that. You can get started with just an internet connection and a laptop. So with a small budget, once you've chosen the business model, I recommend is e-commerce. then we need to be clever about the spends and the purchases that we make early on. We're only going to focus and prioritize on the absolutely essential purchases to get us started with a £500 budget and start bringing in profit as soon as possible. So the absolute essential purchases that I recommend when you get started, firstly, is a limited company formation. So in the UK, you can go to the Companies House website and register a limited company. Now that, I believe, is about £50 to do that, but it is essential because suppliers will only take you seriously if you have a limited company. And also it means that you have a separate legal entity from yourself. So if you ever get into any trouble with a business, it's always best to protect the downside. So having a separate legal entity is always going to be protecting you as a person. So it's best to do that from the start. The next thing to set up is a business bank account, but that won't cost you anything to get started. I recommend Tide as a digital bank, so you can be free to work from just a laptop. The next expense is that you need a website, and specifically I recommend Shopify for you to create a website. You can get started for they've got an offer, it's like £1 a month for the first 3 months, which keeps your costs right down, and you can literally use the best e-commerce platform in the world, which is Shopify, from the start. Then you'll need to purchase your domain name. So whatever you choose to be your e-commerce business trading name. For example, if you were going to be selling gym equipment, you could call yourself Prime Gym Supplies or something like that, .co.uk or .com. But you need to buy that domain, and that's about £13 every year. So £13 to get started for that domain. Absolutely crucial. And then beyond that, there's a few tools that I recommend, just 2 more. One is Google Workspace. So that means you have a professional Google account. So you can have an email address that's professional called info@yourdomainname.com, and also a phone line to make sure that customers and suppliers will take you seriously. And I recommend Circle Loop in the UK as a phone line. There's also one called Air Landline, but having a phone line, that'll cost you about £6 a month. So you've got a professional number that's like 0333 instead of using your mobile number to call suppliers and customers. So all of those expenses put together, I'd suggest will be around £50 for the first registering company, which is just a one-off fee forever. And beyond that, it's going to be £50 and below per month as a monthly ongoing overhead cost to run that business, which, by the way, is incredibly low. And we live in an incredible time where for less than £50 a month, you can have a business running with all of the tools in place, ready for you to build a business. Now, if you don't have £50 to spare every month, look at your expenses and think, why am I spending £50 every month that isn't making me money and isn't giving me enough value? And find that, make that sacrifice if you need to, because that £50 invested into having a business running has the potential to grow so much more than just that £50 a month. Now, once I've got all those expenses set up, the next thing I do is learn about the business that you're running. Now, with a low budget, it's going to make a big difference on the decisions that you make about how you learn and how you get involved with communities or courses to learn what you're going to be doing. But it is crucial to have a learning budget of sorts, to know that there's going to be some money that you're investing in learning and getting started, because ultimately the vehicle that creates this wealth is your brain. It's you. It's what you know. Your knowledge and your understanding of the business that you're running is going to be one of the biggest determining factors, actually the biggest determining factor in how much money you generate. It's all about the actions you take, the mindset you have, and the knowledge and the lessons that you've learned in order to run a successful business. So if you've not got any money and you've got £500 to start, you've spent £50 on your limited company, you then got £50 a month that you're going to be spending on the ongoing costs, I would be looking initially at just free resources to get started. Now, the crucial thing with free resources is that a lot of the lessons that you'll learn for free, people will have other incentives to teach you because they'll want to monetize you in some way. So it's more difficult when you try and learn things for free with no budget, because you've got to sift through more information. So what my recommendation would be with a free budget to learn would be to just focus on 1, maybe 2 people that you know and you trust, and you like the lifestyle that they've generated for themselves, and that they've achieved the goals that you want to achieve, and just cut down the amount of different inputs that you get, right down to just 1 or 2 channels on YouTube. Because what you do when you do that is you're not going to get loads of conflicting information that are all correct in their own right, but it is difficult to then piece together what you need to do unless you're focusing on the models that only one or two people teach. Now, of course, I recommend just focusing on the model that myself and Lewis Smith teach at Dropship Unlocked, because then you can be sure that it's a model that's been proven time and time again, and you can be sure that you're not getting conflicting information. So I'd be looking at free resources. There's this YouTube channel. There's also the Dropship Unlocked podcast, which is hosted by myself and Lewis Smith. There's also the Dropship Unlocked YouTube channel with loads of resources and content to learn more about dropshipping as well. And there's also a free community that I have as well, which again, free is the key at the moment. And that's going to be teaching you and getting you around people on the same wavelength as you getting a business set up. Okay, if you have more money, of course, I recommend you invest that in learning, because it's the most important vehicle that will generate the wealth for you. But if you've got a low budget, like we say, £500 to get started, leverage those free resources initially. Okay, now the key thing with a low budget to get started in e-commerce is to have strong supplier relationships and to have lots of suppliers. So I always have this rule in place. The less money you have to get started, the more suppliers you should sign for your e-commerce business before you start running ads. Because it's been proven time and time again, the more suppliers that you've signed, the faster results you'll see with your Google Ads campaign, because you'll have within that larger range of suppliers more winners amongst them. And so if you've got a lower budget, it means you'll do more work to account for that by signing more suppliers and adding more products before you start running Google Ads. That's a key point. I'd say aim for a minimum of 10 suppliers, but if you can get more, absolutely get more, up to a point where anything above 20 before you start Google Ads is probably just you're starting to hold yourself back from running ads. But anywhere between 10 and 20 suppliers to get started will put you in a fantastic position to start running ads. Okay, then the next investment, you've still got that money left over to get started after the first initial overhead costs registering your company. You've got about £350 or £400 left in that budget. And I'd put that into Google Ads, but I'd just start with a daily budget of maybe £10 or £15 a day. And I'd start to set up campaigns where you've got more manual control over the campaign types. So I would set up Google Shopping campaigns, Google Search text ads, and also then from that campaign, I'd start to run Performance Max campaigns in Google as well. Now, I'll go into more detail about marketing and Google Ads in other videos, but essentially, you want to have more control when you've got a lower budget. And so that's how I'd start with Google Ads. And with that budget, spread it across the first month. And within that first month, you'll learn a lot. And with plenty of suppliers and suppliers that are in demand, you'll start to see sales coming in, which will then, you'll be able to reinvest back into ads. You'll be able to cover the overhead costs that you've got that are running the business, like Shopify and Google Workspace that we talked about before. And once you've got that ad campaigns that you're running to a profitable level, you can then turn up that daily budget, turn up the dial, and essentially that money will come in for you profitably as long as you keep an eye on the key numbers, the key figures inside your Google Ads campaign. Now, this journey won't be easy. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. There'll be lots of learning, growing throughout the process. And with a lower budget, there should be some more time spent learning and also some more suppliers signed, some more work put in essentially to get yourself into a fantastic position to get started. But I'd set yourself a deadline, give yourself a month or give yourself 6 weeks to get started so that you don't end up procrastinating and you don't worry about getting started. You have to take these steps, you have to get started, and you've got to start learning somehow. And the quicker you start learning, the better, and you'll just get feedback and grow from that position. But that is exactly the steps I would take if I had £500 to my name and I was going to start a new e-commerce business. And from that position, you automate, you learn, you grow, you improve your marketing campaigns, you improve your product selection, and it's a constant process of just improving the business that you're running. So that's that for today's video. Just a quick note, if you are struggling to kickstart your journey out of the 9-to-5 and into a entrepreneurial pursuit that you can be passionate about, then the first link in the description is a gateway to the Freedom Builders free community that I've created, so you can get around other like-minded people that are on their journey to building successful businesses. Don't worry, that link isn't for a paid course or anything like that. It's purely just the gateway to that community, and you can join us and get tips from others, learn from others, share in the achievements and successes that you are seeing in your own business. And yeah, you'll be in a fantastic place, surrounded by people that are willing you on and supporting you to generate a successful business with £500, if that is your goal. So hopefully you found value in today's video. If you have, hit that like button. It helps the channel so much and lets me know if you enjoy this type of video. Subscribe to join this movement, this community, this tribe of people that are wanting a better life for themselves. And comment to let me know if you plan to invest £500 into an e-commerce business, and keep us posted with your successes and achievements along the journey. Thank you for being here and watching all the way to the end. I will catch you in the next video. And remember, every step you take is another step towards your freedom. Cheers.